The Tao, source of life, that we often talk about is beyond the power of words and labels to define or enclose. While it is true that we employ words and labels to outline our experience, they are not absolute and cannot define the absolute. When it all began, there were no words or labels. These things were created out of the union of perception and preception. Whether a person who is awake in play sees the heart of life or its surface manifestations is hardly important because they are exactly the same point in space and time. The words and labels that we use to make us think that they are different, but only so we can talk about it from the outside of ourselves in regard to the outside of the point in space and time. If you feel as though you really need a name, then call it the wonder work and watch one miracle talk to another in a language that you can feel but not understand. It is playful to approach something that is logically unknowable. Language can be used to solve problems, but it cannot be used to understand those problems. You can explain what a person should do, like, you should hand me that shovel so I can dig this hole, like, but there can't be, like, you can't put that in absolute terms, like, you should hand me that aggregation of atoms over there because these atoms over here need to have energy put into them. Shuzan held up his staff and waved it before his monks. If you call this a staff, he said, you deny its eternal life. If you do not call this a staff, you deny its present fact. So tell me, just what do you propose to call it? And that's talking about how, since everything kind of breaks down to these little pixels of like atoms and stuff, like, it just kind of keeps flowing and nothing really is anything. So at the same time that it seems like something is an effect, it's also a cause. Alright. If you looked at an atom, that atom would be, like, in a textbook, the atom would be represented by, like, a little sphere. And that sphere is made out of other little spheres, and those spheres are made out of other little spheres, and those spheres are made out of other little spheres. And after that, they don't know because their microscopes aren't powerful enough, or, like, their electron things, their particle accelerators can't see any far past that. But there is the possibility that they keep on going. And whether or not they do keep on going, I think it's like a metaphor for that kind of thought. Like the dualities or the pluralities all end up boiling down into just one. It's like in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, when he's like stuck on all those dualities, and then like finally in the end he's like, oh, it's just one. It's a monism or whatever. Pierre-Simon Laplace said this: we may regard the present state of the universe as the effect of its past and the cause of its future. An intellect which at a certain moment would know all forces that set nature in motion and all positions of all items of which nature is composed, if this intellect were also vast enough to submit this data to analysis, it would embrace in a single formula the movements of the greatest bodies of the universe and those of the tiniest atom. For such an intellect, nothing would be uncertain, and the future, just like the past, would be present before its eyes. Well, it's easy to just say it's the system's fault. But then, you know, what's the system? Nobody really wants the system. The system is just this effect of a cause that I think is just going to be constant throughout all of human history, which is that we will have greed, we will have corruption, we will have different modes of evil that will continue to exist, and any attempt to ignore that evil is just going to perpetuate the time do we take to deal with it? So the place to start would be with each individual person, trying to get them to, or just not even with each individual person, with yourself, and just trying to propel kindness and trying to stop the chains of reactions of evil. Everything harmonizes with me, which is harmonious to thee, O universe. Nothing for me is too early or too late, which is in due time for thee. There is one light of the sun, though it is interrupted by walls, mountains, and infinite other things. There is one common substance, though it is distributed among countless bodies which have their several qualities. There is one soul, though it is distributed among several natures and individual limitations. There is one intelligent soul, though it seems to be divided. Alright, so this was originally supposed to be about the Buddhist concept of dependent origination, but I ended up going completely off topic and talking about completely different stuff that doesn't really make any sense in the world. But if you really do want to know what I tried to say, you should probably just go read these books.